I was reading the newspaper this week, and it hit the headlines that 2 days ago that carbon dioxide levels hit 415 parts per million, which is the highest in human history, the highest in 800,000 years.
Well, what I will say is I believe that the United States is
And
number
10 being
one.
the most concerned and
I
1 being
believe
the
that
least
I
concerned.
believe
What's
the
your
Uni-
number,
I believe the
Secretary?
United States is number one in terms of decreasing CO2.
Did you hear me all right,
emissions
Secretary?
amongst
I'm asking you, what's your
developing
number of your level of concern about that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most concerned?
I haven't lost any sleep over it.
We now know that definitively at no point during the past 800,000 years has atmospheric CO2 been as high as it is today.
You chose 800,000 years ago is because for 200 million years before that, it was greater than it is today. And I'm going to submit for the record.
Yeah, but there weren't human beings. I mean, there was a different world, folks. We didn't have 7 billion people.
So how did
living
it
in
get to 2,000 parts per million if we humans weren't?
Climate change is different because we have an expiration date. IPCC report says we've got 12 years to turn it around. 12 years.
Because we're all going to suffer. You can't build a wall around the consequences of climate change no matter what. The current president may think about the use of walls and their benefits.
Life on Earth depends from the energy coming from the sun. About half the light reaching Earth's atmosphere passes through the air and clouds reaching the surface, where it is absorbed and radiated upwards in the form of infrared heat. And about 90% of this heat is absorbed by the greenhouse gases and radiated back towards the surface, which is warmed to a life-supporting temperature of 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Certain gases block heat from escaping and are relatively permanent, as well as clearing land for agriculture and industries has increased greenhouse concentration.
Higher temperatures mean that heat waves are more likely. Higher temperatures mean that heat waves are likely to happen more often and last longer. Warmer temperatures can also lead to a chain reaction. That's because increasing air temperatures also affects the oceans, weather, plants, snow, ice, animals, and plants. Warmer conditions will lead to more evaporation and precipitation, varying in different groups. Greenhouse effect will warm oceans and partly melt glaciers, contributing to rising sea levels. Average temperatures have been fluctuating since the beginning of time. Scientists have observed a cooling in the upper atmosphere and a warming at the surface because greenhouse gases are trapping heat in the lower atmosphere. According to the UN report last fall, and greenhouse gas emissions continue at the current rate, we could see worsening food storages and wildfires.
Of all greenhouse gases produced, 30% comes from the electricity sector, which is largely produced by burning fossil fuels, which are non-renewable sources like natural gas and oil and coal. Carbon emissions are the biggest source of greenhouse gases, and it doesn't cost anything to use fossil fuels to increase carbon concentrations in the atmosphere. Carbon pricing is a solution to put a price on emitting carbon into the air using either a carbon tax or a cap and trade system. More expensive to use fossil fuels, big companies would have less of an incentive to use fossil fuels and have more of an incentive to turn to renewable sources. If the U.S. were to implement a carbon tax which directly put a price on carbon, the money from this tax can go to renewable sources and taxpayers. Since the trading system caps the total amount of greenhouse gases and lowers it over time. Industries with lower emissions are able to sell their allowances to industries with higher emissions, creating a market price for carbon. Both lead to the same result, which are lower carbon emissions. More than 40 governments across the world have implemented some sort of carbon pricing, which in the UK has led to a cut in carbon emissions. The United States and the US participate in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, which is a cap and trade system, and California has its own cap and trade system. Making it a nationwide policy will significantly cut carbon emissions.